Hello everybody, this is Simon with Let's Play Sonic 2006. There is something really intimidating about a 42-minute video, isn't it? Well, I won't mind if you watch it in chunks. I considered doing a separate S-rank video, but I had to cut up the main run so much to show off weird things happening that I really wanted to have an unbroken clean run in the main video. I promise that I cut much more footage than you're seeing. This was a teeth puller of a recording. See you after the cutscene, which we've already seen, so feel free to skip.
You look like you're in a hurry.
So, what's going on?
Circumstances have changed. I need to rescue the princess.
Sonic's Kingdom Valley was an overlong drag of a level with at least one standout section at the start. Silver's version doesn't have a section like that. He's much slower and the level is barely holding together. In fact, it might be the most straight-up broken one in Silver's story, with tons of setups relying on physics like we've seen in Crisis City that just do not work at all. I've tried my best to approach stuff from multiple angles and show how it might work, but more often than not, no dice. By the way, this weird section at the start is where Shadow's part in one of his level parts ends. Despite those issues, I don't necessarily think this is a bad level. Compared to the actually really terrible aquatic base we just left, Kingdom Valley is a wonderful playground for Silver's abilities, melding combat with platforming and exploration in a very satisfying way. It's just the set pieces that break, and with them often the clear sense of direction. But that's what you have me for. After this initial part where you're just doing a little bit of combat, we go into the meat of the section, which is combat rooms, like for Sonic, but of course Silver has a lot more and more varied combat in a sense, and those are usually just keeping doors closed much more again than in Sonic's section, until you reach stuff like this, which can be considered the main gimmick, which is taking out towers, because Silver has no respect for past architecture, using these pendulums. So at the start you're just meant to land on them and do stuff like this here, which is kind of fun. It is rather slow and a little bit clunky, but I mean, I get it. And this is what he meant with taking out the tower with the pendulum. Will this look cool and satisfying? Well, watch for yourself. Not at all, no. I'm very sorry about that. Also, the falling tower took out an entire battery of physics objects up there. We're going to see them in a second as we approach the first of the wow, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here, cuts. Before we do that, however, let's take out these guys, which interestingly immediately respawn because the game intends you to use them for something. But they don't all respawn, so this is a bit weird, but again, a bit of a broken level. There is a bonus section up here, which is kind of nice, you know, exploration rewarded, not with a silver medal, but with a few rings. I'm going to lose them a lot because, you know, silver. And here down the stairs, what we actually would need the enemies that respawn for, but I've killed them all and they don't respawn anymore, so we have the first broken part of the level. You're supposed to take up this tower, but fortunately with a little bit of extended hovering, probably you can do it without extending it. You have plenty of bar to spare, you reach where you actually have to go. But before we do that, let's see what else we can do with this section, because as I said, there is a lot to explore, there is a lot of ways to approach things. Not that this makes the level necessarily less broken, but it definitely makes things a little bit more interesting. First of all, this silver medal is placed a little bit too high, so that's weird. Second of all, the tower is already gone, and have no idea why. I've showed you the combat before. I just reached this room, the door freshly open, and the tower is just somebody already destroyed the tower. But that's great, because then the tower does not fall onto the stairs, and at the top of the stairs we can actually see a little bit of the setup with these rocks that are spawning in, but they're held back by a wall. Now the idea would be probably that the falling tower takes out the wall, and the wall releases the balls and the rocks, and they destroy the enemies. But of course you need the enemies to destroy the other towers. I don't know if this is actually the idea. Thank you, Silver Scrap Cone. Of course, as it currently stands, the tower also takes out the rocks, because they're also destroyable physics objects. You can take them up and do it like this, but then they just plunge down to the abyss, and I don't know how you would actually destroy the wall if you're doing it yourself. And the rock doesn't even destroy the enemies. And now I'm trying to destroy the wall like this, but we have those railings here, so this doesn't work. You can't destroy the wall yourself, so oh boy, this is just, again, it just doesn't work in the slightest. And here is what you're supposed to do with the tower. You use the enemies to throw them at the tower, and then you have a very obvious path forward. But this again is part of where the level guidance just fails, because the entire thing is just so broken in many ways. It makes sense for you to destroy the tower like you did it before, and then take the platform towards the tower, and then go down to the next platform. But if the tower doesn't get destroyed because there is no enemies, then yeah. Also something I want to show off. There is another setup up here with rocks behind the wall, and I have no idea how to activate it. In this recording, of course, it killed me, but here the rocks just destroyed themselves. These are the ones we just saw from the hover, and now I have no idea how this is supposed to work. Like, this might be able to take out these two dudes here if you can somehow destroy the wall. Maybe this is meant for you to use the tower before, and then it falls to the side and it knocks out the wall, and then the balls come crashing down. It doesn't work at all. I have no idea how this is supposed to work. Anyway, these while picking up the enemies, those bars open themselves, and these enemies will always take out the bridge underneath them. This is also a recurring theme. Fortunately, we don't really need that, because we can take this path here, which is extremely tight. It is ridiculously tight. It cost me 1 S-rank recording trying this. And this is for a silver medal, so that's nice. You can take the bridge backwards, but you have to be really good at extending your hover, which I don't think is intended. And oh, the bridge is falling down again for some reason. I don't know. These spike bars are the absolute worst. I really hate them. They always follow your movement. There is a very simple trick to dealing with them, which I somehow don't figure out, but I can tell you just walk underneath them. You're barely fast enough. The re-falling bridge took out the enemies, which is great, because this section is a gigantic headache, and of course there would be a bad let's play if I didn't show it to you. Anyway, this is how you get up here to this enemy, keep it in mind. And now let's see another recording, what happens here. You keep getting hit by stuff because the boxes block your view, and they are not big enough to block the explosions from the enemy, so that's great. And then the explosions, again, they are big enough to hit Silver, even though he should be protected by the buttress. For some reason I didn't take up the first robot, and the explosions throw your rings away. So this is just a wonderful example of how the physics here can completely screw you over. This part doesn't work at all in any way how it could be possibly intended. Now I'm trying to take out the final robot, and finally this worked, but again the blast radius is just a little bit too big, but at the very least I managed to take out these dudes. If you try to go down there yourself and Psycho Shock them is also not a good idea, because they might just snipe you out of the air, because the yellow robot's missiles, they home really badly in on you. So that's also an issue. Trying to use the boxes doesn't quite work at all either. It's just a bad part all around. Anyway, here is another recording where it is again extremely close getting over here. I'm getting the silver medal, and I turn around and ta-da! The bridge is fixed again for some reason. This time it doesn't fall down, and you can just walk under the spike bar, and we rejoin with this enemy up here. We are back in the original recording. In case you're ever confused, if the silver medal counter is in the bottom right corner, this is the main recording, the main run, where I'm collecting all of them. I don't know what hit me there. I think one of the boxes I carried pushed me into the enemy, which is phenomenal. But yeah, let's just forget about this section with the broken and unbroken and the rebroken bridge. It makes no sense to me, it confuses me, it is very bad, and we're moving on to the next part, which makes no sense to me, is confusing and very bad. So for some reason, and we saw this in the hard mode video for Tails' part in Wave Ocean, I don't think the developers were very aware of how easily these structures can break underneath you, because it doesn't really seem to be intended to me that it keeps happening, that things just break under your feet all the time. It can't possibly be meant as a trap because it's rather dickish, it's not the hard part. But look what can happen in this section. You float over here to these enemies, try to take them out, and then you're down here. And you have no ammunition left to take out more of those platforms, and you can admire the beautiful, beautiful texture of this wood. It looks amazing in my opinion, might be the best texture in the game. You can glitch the camera through it, but then you're just screwed, there is nothing you can do. Because I got the Psycho Shock, I can't do the water hover by just holding the button, I would have to mash it, but I'm trying it here, and this is the Psycho Shock animation, gets me killed, whoops, and you're just dead after this. Just don't go over on that platform, it's terrible. And I don't think that they intended this to be a trap. I think this is just extremely bad game design coupled with not understanding how fragile their actual own physics objects tend to be. Anyway, leader enemy summons two more, and we can move on here. And here is where I completely forgot how to actually deal with those spike bars. I'm trying to use the teleport dash because you think it would be amazing for this, but even if I extend it, and again, you know, frame perfect trick, it's just not fast enough. You're just supposed to run underneath it, and I just keep forgetting it all the time. These robots broke their own platform, which then destroyed them in mid-air, which is again phenomenal, wonderful programming, excellently made, beautiful physics. I love it. And it cost me the points for them as well, of course, because if physics objects take out enemies, then you did take them out, and then you don't get points, of course, because you don't deserve it, you slacker. Here is another part where you have to kill enemies on the wall, which is not too bad, but it is a bit pointless because this is the 7th level. We should be able to do this at this point, but you know, filler. As if this level needed anything. We're 6 minutes in and we have barely started to finish the first part of it. There is so much more Kingdom Valley to go, and there is so many annoying setups with enemies here. Do you know that you can't grab the lasers? Phenomenal. And I should have taken this guy out, but you know, details. It's all fine. I went through it. I managed to do it, and we can go on. The camera here is atrocious, but there is stairs down here, which is also fun because again, this is doing part of the level backwards. Shadow goes up these stairs at the very start of his section. A lot of this is actually doing things backwards, as we're going to see in a little bit. This one here, by the way, is very confusing. You have to grab it from the bottom, whereas the first two pendulums you grabbed from standing up on them, but even with Silver's very high jump distance, you can't really get up there. If you look to the bottom right here, by the way, you can just shortcut. This is where you have to go, and I'm going to go there in a second. You don't have to deal with these enemies at all, and this is again where the guidance, the internal guidance of the level breaks down completely. Like, where do I have to go? There is absolutely no reason for you to assume that it is the bottom left. You assume that you would have to go up here, but this is completely optional. It's just for a silver medal. And in fact, if you do not use the hover extend, you can't get back up here again. You could use this rock to telefling yourself speedrun style somewhere else. This is a setup for that, where you just stand on the side of the rock, but I'm not going to do that, obviously. There is also platforms to the side here, which do not seem to serve any purpose whatsoever. What you actually have to do is go here and to the left and up towards a kill room, as we're going to see in a few more seconds as well, which is also really weird because the robots always destroy the bridge underneath it. Again, I don't think this is intended. I think they just massively dropped the ball on that. But if you break these open, then the enemies spawn in with their backs turned to you. So this seems like it's a bonus win, like it's a reward for exploring, but it is the only way to go after the bridge has been destroyed. So this is like the bottom path leading you towards an easier combat encounter, which is completely backwards from how the level, in my opinion, should be designed. Now let's see how it could go also. If we go to this door, we can pry it open from the back, and this is where the bridge is again. That it seems like you are supposed to go to the bridge and to the left, and the bridge stays unbroken. I think that they did not expect the bridge to break as easily, and the obvious way is to go over the bridge, and the hidden way is to fall down and come from the back. But the way it is right now, because the physics break, the bridge breaks, and then you will always go to the back of the fight room. And this is dumb. Obviously, it is super dumb. But yeah, back to the main path, of course. Yeah. So you might recognize this part by now. Because we have gone through this window before in Sonic's story when we played as Silver. Of course, this is Silver's perspective of this level, but for some reason we are playing this entire part, again this is not how it works, Simon, backwards, for whatever reason. We are going through Silver's part, this rock is pre-broken, don't know why, of Sonic's story the other way around. Which is kind of fun because it just means that you didn't copy paste a part of Sonic's level. It makes no sense from, you know, a story perspective or an integration of gameplay and story, but we are not asking for that, of course, at this point. We just don't. Something about this box, by the way, this is my absolute proof that you need to use this. This is not like some weird exploit. They absolutely intended you to pick up the box and ride on it. And if the box doesn't respawn, then you have a bit of an issue. And again, something pushed the big robot hitbox into me. Not fun. And again, these bars getting pried open just on their own while I fight. It seems a bit weird to me again, but yeah, this level is just a bunch of oversights, isn't it? Anyway, more guidance issues. Where do I go here? If you have played Sonic Story before, then most people do that, of course, then you might at this point completely recognize this. Like this platform here, this was an absolute ass to float to. It is still a bit of a dick to deal with to this point because there's more enemies here now as Silver. And the blast radius of the missiles, as nice as they are to use, is a bit of an issue sometimes, as you can probably guess at this point. But at the very least, this thinking that, oh, I have to just do it backwards might help you guide the entire affair along a little bit. It's still not great, but you know. These robots for some reason survive the fall, which, you know, whatever. The platforms, the boxes just keep tumbling down in another beautiful example of, man, this game is just really broken sometimes, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't really hurt unless they fall down on your head just as you start the glide. This is hilarious, it gets killed, but, you know, in a hilarious way. And let's not talk about robots committing suicide, there's going to be more of that as well. But you know, it just serves to underline how just fundamentally broken this level is. And this ring box, good lord, how often has this one gotten me killed when I played this casually? Because the glide is extremely tight. If you do not know about hover extents, which I don't think were intended at all, then it is barely possible to get it. I think you're supposed to go to the platform, then go back. Speaking of lazy copy pasting, this is the exact same Silver medal we got here when we played Silver in Sonic's story. So this is about towards the start of his section in Sonic's story. And we have this part, you might recognize that just around the corner is where we started. Where we fell into this part with Sonic as on an eagle. And now we have to go there as Silver and pick up an eagle transport again and just go in the other direction. If you kill these dudes, then 6 more spawn, which makes no sense whatsoever because it seems like they intended for you to just use projectiles from the other side of the room all the time. And then it's like, oh no, there is another gaggle of enemies for me to deal with. What should I do about that? I guess I'll have to throw another 36 boxes because each of those takes 6 hits to kill, or you're supposed to walk over and Cycle Shock them afterwards? I don't know. Makes no sense to me. Anyway, again, we take the eagle backwards. This is the eagle that Sonic arrives on, but now we take it backwards, somewhere completely different, of course, because this level is disjointed as all hell. But that's just the way it goes. Can't be helped. I guess this is Kingdom Valley for Silver. So we're somewhere. It's completely impossible to orient, and it's another kill room. Oh boy, are you getting sick of those already? Well, I kind of am, but it's just what you have to deal with. This one is a little bit special in that the enemies are programmed to just circle around all the time, which gets me hit here because I didn't realize that there is another guy towards the corner. But I mean, that is kind of fun, I guess, but I guess there was not a guy around the corner. I don't know. Never playing as Sonic for some reason. I have no clue why, except that they want to have the parallel of a small Sonic cameo inside a Silver level, and you played a small Silver cameo inside the Sonic level. But this one here is absolutely deranged from just a level design and a structure and just a sheer what are they doing issue, because it is literally exactly the same part, and this part here is only the automatic section, apart from that homing attack chain we just saw now. And this is just so unbelievably lazy. Like, what were they doing? Did they really need to do this? I mean, yes, it looks pretty cool, and then we have a broken ring chain, which is always fun. And then we have a little bit of a combat room, which you could trivialize completely with all of your abilities as Sonic, which I'm doing kind of, but yeah, I was too lazy to switch to the tornado because I wasn't memorizing the order of the gems anymore. Also, there is a very annoyingly hidden silver medal here, which is inside a metal box, which you have to push away. That's easy to find, of course. But then we go here and we reach the end of this section with a few excuse spikes, have a little bit of a glitch in the fire, and that's it. That was Sonic's section. Very, very necessary. I really liked it. Good job. Yeah, cool. And we're back to Silver, and slow down. This is terrible. This section is far too big and there is too much stuff here. You might notice that it just skipped the checkpoint. I didn't notice that, but there is going to be an amusing consequence to that. Keep it in mind for later on. This setup here is surprisingly tricky. I tried to get closer to Psycho Shock them, but then they hit me instead, and then there is just a lot of missiles on a very small bridge, and of course using missiles in close quarters is ill-advised. Actually, I wanted to pick up the red box, and I thought the red box would destroy everything, but yeah, I managed to snatch one of the red bombs out of the air, which also was completely tripping me up. I didn't expect to hold something, so instead I was just hovering there stupidly, but whatever. Also expected to kill some of the enemies here on the wall, but it just doesn't matter, just go. They're doing nothing to you. This looks cool. It's pointless, but it looks cool. And then we reach another extremely weird part here where the player guidance is barely existing. So I make a crucial mistake here in turning around too quickly. It's not too bad, but it has a little bit of an impact here. This is my internal count. I'm missing a silver medal, as you can see in the counter. And there is one where you cannot go back for. This is why I'm going to keep missing it. Here, something else. I'm not showing this off because I just completely overlooked it all the time. I only saw it editing. You can probably break that window and go inside this tower, and then this door opens after you kill a few more enemies. Didn't do that because it just overlooked it all the time. I'm not going back and recording another 20 minutes of Kingdom Valley just to show off this room. I'm so sorry. This is, by the way, how you can get the silver medal and double deck. We're going to see this again in the S-rank run where I canonically get it, but it is absolutely possible to get all the silver medals in one run. You just have to do this weird thing where you just turn around and then you go up here. But anyway, the room inside of this tower will remain a mystery unless you play this game for yourself, or maybe I will show it off in the hard mode recording, so there's something else to look forward to there. Isn't that going to be glorious? But here you can see how you would come from the inside. Anyway, this part. I destroyed this tower off screen. I cut out a little bit of faffing around with the door so that I don't bore you. You can probably glitch through it or something, but again, doesn't matter. We're going to probably see it in the hard mode run. If I remember, it's going to be a kill room with some dudes, whatever. These robots here, they don't give you points, which is a bit of a hint. You need their missiles to destroy these towers so that you have a platform to stand on. It's kind of fun. Plays into the main gimmick of the level. Not too bad, with the obvious problem is that you are targeting the robots most often and not the tower, but somehow this worked here now because the targeting is also terrible, so it's fine, we moved on. And then the eagle comes here. Why he couldn't take us just to the end of the stage from the get-go, I don't know. Why he's giving us a little bit of a bath in the drink, I don't know either. But we have finally reached the end of the level, because this is, if you remember, where Silver was helping Sonic against this gaggle of robots. At least he was supposed to, but we didn't see it. But this is now where we're playing this part. And this is the actual true integration of Silver's and Sonic's part, where Sonic says, oh, that's a bunch of robots, and Silver says from off screen, I'll take care of it. This is what we're doing right now. We're playing this part, we're killing all of these robots, and again, gameplay story integration. You gotta respect it if it happens. We have to kill all of the robots, keeping Sonic's back free, I guess, before the gold ring appears. Similar to how it was in Aquatic Base, but makes a lot more sense here that the gold ring only appears here. And now watch out what happens now. We can move around on the results screen. This is a relatively well-known glitch, and this happened because after the character switch from Sonic to Silver, I did not touch the checkpoint. You can do this yourself. You just have to not take the checkpoint and then not die, of course, because otherwise you'll have to do it again. But this allows you to just run around during the result screen. It's really funny. It happens a lot of times as well when you glitch the character, change things and go to the end early. And this is the only way you can also do stuff like see Knuckles run around here. It's pretty fun. Anyway, another cutscene we've already seen, so please don't just, skip it. Feel free.
Elise! Wait. There's still a way to change this. If we return to an earlier point in time, we'll be able to save her.
I understand.
Chaos Control!
Silver! I could handle this myself. Besides, you got somewhere to go, right?
You!
I'll make sure to change Elise's fate. And that, in turn, should change your future, too. Thank you, Silver.
Yeah. Just save her. I know how to save our world now. We don't have to change the past. I'm sure of it.
So you have a plan? Well then let's hurry. I sense his flames.
Alright, Allied, we saw the first cutscene already, but not the second one, and the third one, I guess, it's always weird. If you did miss them, then you can go back. Blessedly, we don't have to do another really stupid town segment. We are immediately back in the future, in Silver's present, and we can do the final level of his story next time. For now, we still have to take a full look at the entire level and the S-Rank run. If you liked it so far, take your time, take a break, make a coffee, take a drink, stay hydrated, give me some love, thank you very much. And now let's dig in to a very long loading time swear I didn't use this to like set up or anything. It's just this level is gigantic, and even on Xenia it takes quite a while to load. So this is a bit of a simulation of how long it would take on console. Amazing. And let's go. So what's my recommendation for the S-Ring run? Well, don't faff around quite as much as I did. You will get hit, so don't expect a ring bonus. You can get a ring bonus if you're quite good, especially at the final part of it, but otherwise just be somewhat efficient. Take the quick path through the level, don't die, of course you can't afford that. You will get a ton of points from all of the mandatory enemies, and so otherwise you can just go here and just do the normal run through the level. Don't run around all of the optional side paths. I do use a bunch of extended teleport dashes because there is nothing else to, you know, speed up Silver's movement. So there is no reason not to try. If you pull it off once, it will always become easier, and I've got a bunch of practice in there. But this doesn't really help you much. Like this for example, the store is still closed. So don't think that you need speedrun tricks to complete this level with an S rank, of course, if you ever happen to do it yourself. There is a few tricks like this one here where you don't have to take out the tower. You can just hover over there. And again, the extended hover, like here, this is not a speedrun trick. You just tap the button. There is a thing that's called an extended hover. Oh yeah, this worked great, but of course, again, you don't need it. Where you can refill Silver's meter in mid-air again by using an animation cancel by slapping the air at the end of his falling animation. Never tried it, don't need it. Wow, I landed on the bomb, that's fun. Other than that, again, you can just do this normally. It's absolutely easy to do this casually. Here I recommend not trying the bridge. You might want to try out one of the boxes that is closer to this edge, because again, this is very tight and you really need good air control for this to work. You can take the bridge, yeah, it's possible, but it's dangerous as hell. These guys down there will love to snipe you out of the air, and I'm doing a lot of work here to avoid them. I didn't directly go to this enemy. Why? Because I had 4 rings, now I have 1. If this enemy notices me with the machine guns in the air as I slowly hover over, I will die. This is one of those moments where the machine guns are extremely deceptively dangerous, and you really have to watch out for that. And I did. And this is why I fell down and took the spring instead of, you know, the other way. Here we can see how the platform underneath me decided to buckle, and it did it again, because these are fragile as hell. So no 1-up for me doesn't really matter, of course, because this is a replay of the stage anyway. It costs me 200 points, but again, doesn't really matter. Mostly it cost me some time because I could have just ignored it from the get-go, but them's the breaks. But yeah, generally I think this shows off how this level can run somewhat efficiently without all of the cuts. I'm even so efficient that it didn't get to summon the other enemies, and then the door stays closed for some reason. So this is very weirdly programmed, because it seems like just taking out everything in total would be enough, but no, it has to summon the enemies, and then you have to take out the trio, and then the door opens. Yeah, it's brilliant. As I said, this level barely works, and the more you play it, the more it will seem to break apart at the seams completely. It is terrific. I love it. And again, I said it before, this is not unfun to play. Generally, there is a good mixture of just taking out a lot of robots, not too many. Yeah, there's a lot of combat, but it's not as combat focused as aquatic base, and fighting robots is much more fun than fighting iblis creatures, for sure. And then you have a lot of this platforming interspersing, where you can skip a lot of it by taking the correct routes. Here I'm taking the box, for example, because it is worth 200 points, and I'm killing these enemies because they're worth 300 points each. As you're going to see at the end, this doesn't matter. You can shortcut a lot in here. But this is basically how you can do it rather efficiently. You just drop down on these guys from directly above, then their homing missiles won't hit you. And then you can go here and of course go to the back of the room as always, because it barely works as intended. You basically have to respawn the bridge by going away far enough or angling the camera away. I don't know how those bridges respawn. I don't know how this game is programmed. Shoddily, that I do know. I wonder if you can get a big bonus here by killing all of these robots at once-ish. You know, I don't quite know how the destruction bonus works, but it doesn't really matter. Again, there is plenty of points to spare if you're somewhat efficiently. It still takes forever to do this level, but at the very least you won't get bored. There is always something to do, like for example throwing back those hands, which, as is intended, kills the robot. Sometimes it works, often not. Again, I forget that this one just wants you. It's out for blood. Again, just poke under it. It's fine. You think you have to do something with it, but you don't. You think you would have to have homing on these things, but you don't. It just doesn't work most of the time. But from down here, wonderful, brilliant, excellent. And it's a nice sign that the enemy is actually dead if the crystal flies in. You can use that as a chaos drive, I think, maybe. I wanted to pick up those hands, but it didn't work. Yeah. Another thing you can do is do these small side rooms here. 200 points for the 1-up, and then 400 more points for those robots, just free of charge. It's a quick way to make some points, and of course with the Psycho Shock being as good as it is very easy and efficient. So I recommend doing it, and also it's fun. I think it's fun to kill a lot of robots at once, and you desperately need something to be a little source of just pure enjoyment in a level as long and as, you know, let's face it, repetitive as this is. And there is a lot of combat situations like here where you can lose a lot of time, which doesn't matter for the S rank. Again, I got it. But it just feels bad if your projectiles keep missing, if you want to pick them up but it just doesn't quite work because the pickup cone is weird, and if your throws don't go the way you intended, if the enemies kill themselves before you can kill them, it's just like here, for example, should I wait for another box? No, I'm going to use the Psycho Shock again. This is where it loses me, of course. Yeah, this is not defendable, where you say, okay, yeah, sure, you can use the Psycho Shock to kill it, but it's always the same thing you do. I would have loved to take this guy out with projectiles, because then it would have been done. I would have had to stand on this platform and double back for him, because otherwise his lasers will shoot me out of the air. I know it. Yeah. But the way it goes, the one thing you can do for most of these guys, like here for example, if you're not using the Psycho Shock, you're losing so much time, but using the Psycho Shock all the time is boring as well. So there is moments like this here where the combat works. I really like this part here. Bam, bam, left, right, pick them up, dead. Beautiful. Then these enemies spawn in and ruin what I just said. As I said, I like this part, but I digress. You know, it can be really fun. Taking out all of these guys is 1,800 points, by the way, so don't miss that. It helps to be aware of just the basic rule. The more hits an enemy takes to kill, the more points it gives you. It's in 100, 300, 1,000 increments, in case you forgot. And we are done with this section after a measly 8 minutes. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee right now. Whew, deep breath. Alright, back here. This is probably the most pointless room in the entire game. Like, why didn't they just let us switch to Sonic right away? You could switch to Silver right away in Sonic's story. Maybe because we get to watch these beautifully broken explosion effects here, which I'm fixing here in a second. Alright, done. And maybe they wanted to show off the enemy's AI here with flying to the side. I don't know. There is nothing you can really do here. I think you can probably break this completely by using the purple gem, but I doubt that it does much. I think you can break out of the animation and skip a lot of running around on the church roof here. It's possible. You would have to watch a speedrun for that, and I'm not like doing extensive speedrun research for that, but it's something you can consider. If this level gets really on your nerves, there is a lot of ways to break this game relatively easily, especially with Sonic's gems. So I recommend it. By the way, here is a hint at how these rings are actually part of the trail. It makes no sense, but you know, they are, because the shield doesn't pick them up. Fun observations. The more you play this game, the more you kind of see how it is put together. It is, again, usually badly put together, but the more you understand it, the more fun you can have exploiting the ways it breaks and not get caught in the ways it breaks. So that's my sales pitch. Now I take the checkpoint, and now the end screen will work. Fun fact, fun observation. I think here it's supposed to work like you are throwing something at the box in the middle, like in the very start of the level, and then it explodes, like so. Yeah, wonderful. It seems like it's actually actively programmed to seek out the box beforehand. So this is cool. The problem is the robots here have too much health. It doesn't work. The robots at the start also have too much health. It just, yeah, not quite as intended, but you know, the idea is here, and if you made it so that the box actually instant kills enemies and does not just deal 1 damage, then it would work. Yeah, fine. So if I didn't have to pick up the silver medal, you could just go to the left here, very easy, and skip all of this. All of this weird hovering, platforming, doesn't matter. You barely get anything, just like a few rings here, doesn't matter, I'm gonna lose them anyway. I'm not going to lose them, but you probably will lose them if you're somewhat less lucky. There's a lot of stuff that can hit you, but of course I had to get the final silver medal. This guy here is blessedly ignoring me, but it's still a little bit dicey. I don't like this. I do like how they're using the pendulums here as just normal platforms. You can probably still pick them up. It's not advised, you know, because why would you? It doesn't help you get the silver medal at all. Just hover and go back. It's fine. It's very easy. But yeah. And here, of course, if you just beeline it using the existing projectile, something that is already thrown at you, you can keep going here. Another thing that kind of breaks here is how the tower takes out a lot of the enemies here. Now I actually have to get their attention, and then it homes on the wrong thing, and come on, please. And it doesn't even give me points, because, you know, these enemies respawn. Respawning enemies don't give you points. Now I'm desperate, don't want to get hit. I'm hoping that I don't get hit out of the air, because it can also happen. And don't scare me like that, please. Please, I beg of you. This is 10 minutes in. I don't want to redo this stage. I mean, obviously I'm not doing it because this is all post-commentary, but Jesus Christ. And I always get a little bit of a butt-clenching moment as well when it dips me into the water, because I don't quite know where the kill plane is. This one is tempting to go in and Psycho Shock, but do not. You will get murdered by all of these projectiles, and then they will explode again and throw away all of your rings to God knows where. Another moment where it's just like it can get extremely dicey, but it did not here. I managed to do it quite well actually, with a little bit of a homing issue here. A few more rings, and I actually finished the stage with a tremendous whopping 80 ring bonus, which I don't need, yeah, but it looks good. It looks really good. This is a lot of points to get out of the stage from. I mean, not a score attack, lot of points, but I was quite happy with that. Now we have seen an unbroken run of Silver's Kingdom Valley, which is ironic considering how broken it really is. Haha, kill me. Anyway, I got this gold medal, I got the S rank gold medal. And I would like to thank you at this point for your attention. After all of this, enjoy a few humorous moments, because of course there were some. See you next time in Flame Core.